Hi everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna and I am an acrylic artist. Thank you for stopping by today. I hope you're going to paint with me. Today we're going to be painting on fabric. I love to paint on fabric, but today we're going to be painting placemats, Christmas placemats. So let's take a look at it. It's a pretty large placemat. Let me pull down the top so you can see it and the bottom. This is a placemat that I got at the at-home store in my town, and I love it because the back side of it, or the top side I guess it would be, is this fabric, and the back was this, which was perfect for painting a Christmas design on, or any design for any season, whatever holiday you like to decorate for. But I loved painting on it. It just was beautiful fabric to paint on, and as you can see, because they're both thick fabrics, my paint did not go through to the other fabric, because normally with fabric you have to put a backer behind it to keep it from going through, a piece of cardboard or something. And the paint did not go through on this one, and so these are a great placemat. Nice, heavy, thick placemats. At home store here in my town is where I got it. I got a set of them there, and they also had a table runner, so I got that as well. So I can't wait to get that painted up. It's not painted up yet, so it's going to be fun to paint up as well. I used my DecoArt fabric paints. Let's take a look at it with the place setting here. Look at that. Add your napkin on top and you've got a gorgeous place setting for Christmas. I love my pears down here. You know, painting fruit is my favorite thing to paint, and I loved adding these pears to this placemat. Of course, you can add any design on your placemat that you like, but I'm going to show you how to paint this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I do have the line drawing for this particular placemat on my website. I believe it's $2. You can go to lonnalamb.com and go to line drawings for purchase on my shop store, on my shop tab, and you can find all the line drawings that you can buy, just the line drawings if you want to do your own thing with them. So I think I'm ready to grab my paints and supplies, and let's get started. Alright, we're going to start on this project. This is a placemat. I bought a set of them. One side looks like this and the other side is plain. So I am going to paint on this side and make myself a Christmas placemats, and then this other side is for the rest of the year. So I decided I wanted to paint pears. A lot of you know fruit is my absolute favorite thing to paint. I'm going to grab me a large flat brush here because I want to lay in some fabric medium in the areas where my pears are. And this is just going to be a fun, easy design, I think. So lay that in. It's going to help the paint go on nicely. You can also use this medium. It's just fabric medium. You can also use it to create transparent colors. And we might use it on the ribbon to do just that. So this is going to be a fun design, I think. Okay, so I've got a good coat of that on there. It doesn't have to be real heavy, just kind of fill in. It's only there to help our paint move a little bit as we apply it. So we're going to start putting on some yellow. This is Hansa Yellow Hue. I am using the DecoArt SoSoft fabric paints. Love these paints. Oh my gosh, it is just taking to this fabric beautifully. And every fabric is going to take paint differently. So just be prepared for that. Do not get frustrated. The fabric medium is going to help so much. So you might want to have a bottle of that on hand. Already I'm loving this color. And look at that. I think we're going to get one coat coverage on here. Grab a little bit of my medium. Didn't get all the way to the edge right there. If it's a little dry or draggy, just grab a little bit of medium on the corner of your brush and blend that in. Okay, that looks really good. One coat did a really nice job on that. So I'm going to work wet into wet paint here. So I'm going to put some antique gold out, and I've already got some bright yellow out. And I'll put just a tiny bit more of my base color out. I really like working wet into wet on fabric. I think it does beautifully. So I'm going to start, get a lot of the moisture out of my brush here, by laying in some darker color along here, because this is where our shadowy area would be. And put some down here. And I'm just going to blend that out. Because our paint is wet, we can do that so easily, and I'm just doing it very softly. I'm not pushing on the brush at all. Just letting the bristles, the tips of the bristles, do the job. Grab some of the base color here. I want to create a little bit of a roundness right here. A little bit of darkness right here, so I'm just going to softly blend that. And look how already we've created this gorgeous pear on here. And we haven't done much of anything yet. Make where the stem comes out. I'm just using a 1/2 inch angle brush, nothing fancy. And that is looking beautiful already. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go over to this one while it's still wet and start applying a little bit of some shading on it. Remember, we're working wet into wet here. My paint is still wet. It hasn't had a chance to dry because I put that fabric medium down first. And it created a nice, beautiful foundation for these pears. Let's make a little dimple area over here. And I might bring this one over just a little bit. And where our stem goes, I'm going to add that in. Look at this. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I am so loving this paint. I'm going to darken a little bit down here, I think, with just a little bit more of that antique gold color. And shape this pear back here because it got a little bit off shape. Okay, that's looked pretty good for our shading. So I'm going to grab a little bit of white on my palette now. We're still working wet into wet because I have that medium down, fabric medium. So I'm going to mix a little bit of my base color and some white to start creating a highlight. Just do an equal mix, and we'll start a highlight on here. And if your paint feels like it's starting to dry on here, I'm just going to blend a little bit of the fabric medium in with my mix here. And that will give us a little bit more flow for our paint. We want everything to blend nicely, no hard lines. And it's very, very easy to blend on fabric, so don't be afraid of doing that. Go right up to the edge. And I'm going to just brush it out and let it blend. Make that a little bit more rounded there. More rounded here. Create that small little triangle over there. Okay. This one's still pretty wet, so I'm going to go over and highlight it. It's an equal mix. Just starting our first highlight here. On our edge here. If it feels draggy, add a tiny little bit of that medium into your mix there. Don't get too carried away with it though, because it can thin your paint and make it look a little bit transparent unless you're wanting that look. I'm going to go down here a little bit more. And I want to put a little bit back here behind the stem. And those are looking pretty yummy. Put a highlight in there. Might bring the highlight down just a little bit on this one. This is just our first highlight. We will definitely have to do more. But aren't those looking delicious? Delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and do another highlight. And this time I'm going to do 2 white and 1 of our base color, which was Cadmium Yellow Hue, a little bit out here. We don't have to fill in all the places that we did before. We don't have to put in near as much color on our second highlight, so don't feel like you have to get too carried away with that. And we're going to come back and deepen our shadow areas in just a second. I want to just start creating a little bit more of a highlight. I want a really bright highlight on these. So I'm going to put it right here, just tap a little bit of paint and let it soften down in there. I'll do the same here, tap a little bit and soften it so we can get a bright highlight. This is just white and it's going to soak down in there a little bit, so we're going to have to come back and do that again. Put a little bit of this white along this edge here and here. Okay, that is looking beautiful. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Cleaning up some edges here. Okay. I do want to darken where my stem goes just a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit more of that antique gold and put it down in there. And in there. And I think I want just a touch darker down here. If you work wet into wet, it's going to work out much nicer for you. I want to darken down here with a little bit more antique gold right here in this little shadowy area. And I think that's looking beautiful. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make my stems now. Okay, so I'm not using a brown in my painting, so I'm going to create a brown by mixing some black into my gold, it will actually make kind of a greenish brown, grayish color. I don't want it to be overly, I didn't ever use that color. What color is that? That's bright yellow. I thought I was going to have to use it for a highlight, but I didn't. Okay, so I'm just going to paint a rather nice size stem. Pears have decent size stems. I'm going to get a little bit of that flow medium on my brush because it's not wanting to move very well. And we'll just add our stems in here. I'm making them a little bit fat at the tip, so I'm painting like a triangle in there. I don't know if I can zoom you in and keep you on camera. So I made it like a little triangle at the tip, and now I'm going to just pull that down into the pear. Okay. I had you zoomed out because I wanted you to be able to see the whole placemat, but I think I'll try and keep you zoomed in here like this. Move my paints out of the way. So I want to shade inside here, but I've got to wait for that to be dry. And I know that we're going to have another leaf coming off right here. So right now I just want to get my leaves painted in for my pears, and I'm going to use Avocado Green. I'm going to get a small flat brush here. Get a little bit of my medium mixed in with the paint, or I can just paint my leaves in with the medium. Either one of those options will work beautifully. A nice flat brush here. Use good but not your best brushes. Fabric's a little bit harder on your brushes, so we don't want to use our very best brushes. I think I'm going to paint a little bit of medium in here first and then go grab some paint. Get some of that medium out of my brush now. I mean, just look how beautifully that goes on. It is just amazing. And the medium really does help, so don't be afraid to use it. So I have another leaf here. Let me find where my pattern. I'm not sure what I did with it. Okay, not sure what I did with my pattern, so I'm just going to wing it in here. I've got one that's coming down here. It's going over that yellow, so it will take a couple of coats to cover that yellow up. Because right now it looks like it's just split down the middle. Okay, so I need those to get dry a little bit before I apply a second coat. So while they are drying, I'm going to take my fabric medium and I'm going to paint in all of my holly leaves with a little bit of fabric medium. And this might take me a little bit of while, so I think I might go off of camera shot and do this. So you'll just apply a little bit, not too much. We don't want it to thin our paint down. We just want to be able to move our paint. And if you don't feel like you can paint the leaves in very quickly, just do about 4 or 5 of them with this medium and paint them in, and then go do 4 or 5 more and paint them in. I'm going to do this section right here and paint them in. I'll just show you real quick, and then I will go off camera and finish the rest. So I'll do all the ones that go to this stem right here. That was quite a bit of medium right there, so it may end up being a little bit darker. So we're going to paint these leaves in a little bit brighter. We're going to use bright avocado. And I'm using a detail liner, but I think a small round brush would probably work best. I'm going to have to find one and bring it over here because this might take me a while to paint these leaves in using this tiny little detail liner. Okay, that took me a while just to paint that one little leaf in with this little bitty brush. So I'm going to go off camera and finish those that I did, find me a better brush to paint with, and then I'm going to get all the rest of them painted in. First apply the fabric medium, and then apply a coat of bright avocado. You should only need one coat unless you apply a lot of medium. Then you may have to come back and do a second coat on there. Alright, I've got two coats. I've got my leaves all painted in, and I put a second coat on this leaf right here to cover up that yellow. Really, one coat is all you need unless you get really heavy-handed with the the fabric medium, because it will thin the paint a little bit, make it more transparent. So in that case, you might have to add a second coat. But so far, I've got one coat coverage except for right here, and that is pretty amazing. I think real quick I'm going to shade right here next to my stem before I forget. So I'm going to take my antique gold that I used there and mix the tiniest little bit of black to it. Just a tiny little bit. Do not put very much in there because it'll turn it as dark as what our stems are, and we don't need it that dark. We just need it slightly darker. And I think on this one, since we're seeing some of the bottom, I might put a, oops, wrong side of my brush there. Wipe my brush out. I might put a little bottom on this one. And then put some little fine hair things coming out of it with that same antique gold and a tiny little bit of black. I don't need to be quite that long. Take my wet brush here. Let me grab some lighter yellow so I can highlight those. I think that will help. Maybe even a little bit of white here in a second. Not sure how well you're seeing them. That probably helped you quite a bit. And then I'll put my little float of dark color back in there, settle all that stuff. Actually, I need to see them coming straight from it, so I'm going to grab my light, oh, that's a fat line. Grab my light yellow and a little bit of white with it. I need some dark ones in here to break this up. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Those are still a little bit long. They do not have to be that long coming out of the end of a pear. So I'm going to shorten those. Just remove it. You can paint on fabric, floating, and all that stuff. You can do all of that stuff just like you do on wood or any other surface. Once your fabric, your first layer is dry, you can do all that floating stuff. Okay, so while I'm here, let's see, that's a brighter green. I want to make my stems. So I'm going to take the base color, which was that avocado green. Yep, avocado green, and mix a little bit of black with it. And I'm going to pull a stem. Mix a little bit of my flow medium with it. I keep calling it flow medium, but it's fabric medium. Does help the paint flow a little bit. I'm using it in place of water. Okay, I think I'll take my damp brush. I just washed it out, so that's why it's damp, and just soften that right there along that edge. I'm going to go over here and do, oh, I just stuck my hand in the green paint. Gotta be careful. My green is not even close to being dry. Let me turn this just a little bit, so hopefully I can stay out of that. I'm going to start out here in my leaf and come over here to my stem. Need a little bit of flow here. Just connect it there. And I'll kind of blend that out a little bit right there along that edge. This paint is still pretty wet, so I'm going to get a little bit of that dark color. It hadn't dried from when I put the second coat on there yet. Okay. I want that to get dry before I add a highlight and a little bit more shading on there. Add a little bit of highlight there. A little bit there. Tap some into our bright spots. And if we lost them, bring those back. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight here. Okay, I need that leaf really to get dry. Some of my other leaves out here are still wet, but we can add our line in there. So we painted those with the bright green, which was bright avocado, so I'm going to mix just a little bit of my black in there, get this really dark green. We could have used that on these as well, this color, which I might go back over and apply. Stuck my hand in my holly leaves over here on this edge are still very, very wet. These over here. So I'm going to do my best to stay out of them and paint these in. I don't want them to get ginormously fat, so I'm going to try and control them. We got holly berries that are going to be coming in here, so it will cover up a lot of the stem stuff. Oh, there I go, sticking my hand in that green paint again. I can feel it as soon as I lay my hand down in it. Whew. Some just getting some placement here. A lot of these stems we won't be seeing when we're done, so I'm not going to stress out about them. Now with fabric you can't really take away, so you want to be careful where you place your paint. Because that extra line that I have right there, I can't take it away, but I can cover it up with some berries, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, I think I'm going to take a little bit of this mix and put onto our stem here. Our stem and our pear leaf. It's a little bit lighter green. We'll highlight the stem a little bit. Okay, then I'll just take a little tiny bit of white along that. A bit of a highlight. Okay, let me see if these are dry. That one is still really wet right there. I don't know why it's taking so long to dry right there. But that green is taking a long time to dry. I'm going to work on these other green ones. So I'm going to take my black and green mix. I'm going to use that bright green and mix it with black, that bright avocado, because it makes a very nice shading color. And I'm going to shade at the base of this leaf. This leaf, a little bit of shading on there. Mixing a little bit more here on my brush. I don't think I can do that one yet. It is still just incredibly wet. But I am going to go ahead and do the highlight on these other two because I want to do it while they're wet, and I'm going to still use that bright avocado. The base color is dry, but the shading color is still wet, so this will give us an opportunity to blend a little bit. Don't overthink these leaves. I mean, seriously. Might add a little bit of our yellow in there, our base coat yellow. Get a little bit of a brighter highlight here. Go ahead and do the edge of this one. Still don't think I can get the shading on that one, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm afraid I'm going to end up removing some paint here. That was very dark. Let me grab a little bit more green. Okay, I'm going to go back to my base color on this one because I feel like this got really wide on this vein. So I'm going to paint some of the base color in, take that down. We want a brighter highlight on those leaves, obviously, but they need to dry. But we can start shading on these, and we're going to use the base color and add a little bit of black. That's the bright avocado plus a little bit of black. Black, it doesn't take very much. Just go all the way around these. Be very repetitive. I'm doing it mostly at the base of them. I have to add my vein back in on a couple of them. A little bit more black in the mix now. That one wasn't dark enough. We don't want our shading to look like it's black, so, but we do want it to look like a nice dark green. A little tiny bit more black here. Just use a small brush that fits in the area you're using. When you're painting on fabric, the one thing you do not want to do is use a brush larger than the area you're trying to paint. Because if you get the paint outside of your area, then you've got to make your design bigger or add another element to help cover that up. Okay, these are dry enough here that I can start adding a highlight on here. I'm going to use that bright yellow, I think, and see if that will show up. I have to add a little bit of white to it. That's not bright yellow, that's cad yellow. Yeah, no, it's bright yellow. Well, in Americana paints it would have been a cad yellow because it's very transparent. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I want to redefine my stem, so I'm going to take that bright avocado and some black. Ooh, got some water there. Don't want that. That'll drip down and make a mess. Feeling like it needs another bright little highlight. I don't know what to do with my paintbrush. There it is. Go back to my bright yellow and add a little bit more on here. Just the bright yellow itself. There we go. I'm liking that much better. Now, I do want to add another little color to our pears, but before I do that, now that they're dry, I want to do a little bit of speckling on them. This is an optional step. I'm going to use the color that we shaded with and just add a few little dots on my pears here and there. Just don't get carried away. Just a few little accents of some dots. This is the antique gold. You know how pears look. So just use your imagination and let it go and just have some fun. Oh my gosh. Now you can come back and add a few little white dots on there as well. Just here and there. Not too many. Especially of this color. Yeah, those are a little bright, so I'm going to touch them with my finger, kind of settle them down a little bit. Okay. That looks good. Now, the other color that I want to add to our pears, it's actually colors we're going to have in our berries, because they're going to be red. Well, those berries will probably be orange, but I'm thinking the ribbon along the outside is going to be red. So I've got two colors here. I'm going to use the red pepper. I really like this color. It's very pretty. It'd be close to a country red, I think, in Americana paints. So I just want to make a little like wash of that color. So I'm actually going to use water in my brush this time and just side load for a float. A very small amount of paint. And then I'm just going to come in here and pick some places that I want to create a little bit of this color in here. Grab a little bit of water. I don't want it to be super bright. And just kiss it with a little bit of no particular place that you have to do this. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But I want to carry some of that red into my pears. I just think it's going to be beautiful when it's done with this little kiss of red in here. Take the water edge, soften that down, blend it, get a nice color change right there. I think that is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, so pretty. So pretty. All right, so our holly leaves. We want to highlight with a really bright color. This is green apple. It's a neon color. And it may, you know, kind of slide down in there the first time we put it on. So, because it's kind of transparent, we'll put it on the first time, just on the ends of our holly, and then we might add a little bit of white to it, or just repeat this color. I haven't decided yet, but it depends on how it goes on. It's pretty transparent, but still a gorgeous color. Gorgeous. Use a brush that fits. If it doesn't fit, lift it, manipulate the brush. You control the brush does not control you. You're the boss of it. You tell it what to do. We don't really need a whole lot of detail on our holly leaves. They're just kind of accent around our beautiful pears. Our Christmas pears. That's what I might call this one, Christmas pears. Okay. I really want that to get good and dry. I feel like I need to darken in here just a little bit. That was our antique gold and black mix. So just a little tiny bit more in there. Blend it out. That looks much better. I could probably put some of that in just a little bit darker. There we go. These are turning out beautiful. I'm loving them. Okay, I want that highlight on our holly leaves to get dry so that we can add another coat on there. All right, let's brighten up on our holly leaves. I'm going to try that bright green one more time. I think a second layer on here will get it just right. Nice and bright on the tips here. And we don't have to really do too much more than this to our holly leaves. They don't need tons of detail. Just some shading and highlighting is all they require. We'll have some I was thinking about putting holly leaves up by my bow, but I've got another idea drawn up there, so we shall see. We shall see. Okay. That looks pretty good there. So now we want to start adding our berries on here. Now, I'm not going to be particular about my berries. I'm going to use a paintbrush. I don't want it to be so thick that it goes all the way through to the other side of the placemat. So I'm thinking about my paint as I put it on. I don't want it to be so thick that it goes all the way through both pieces of fabric. We want it to stay just on this fabric. So if you are concerned with that, then you'll want to take a round brush and your red paint. We're going to use that red paint that we were glazing on there, that red pepper. And I really wish I could find my pattern. Okay, I found it. That's going to help me because I kind of placed where I wanted berries, but really it doesn't matter because I know I want quite a few berries on here, and then I may come in and add more leaves. But I want to fill in and get things nice and lots of berries. And we'll add some stems to these berries, so if they end up hanging out into nowhere land, don't worry about it. Like this one here, I know I'm going to draw a stem up here, or paint a stem in that's going to connect all of those berries right there. And they can go over your leaves. Do not think that they can't. They can be on top of your leaves. I'm going to put one up here. I had one coming out here. I had a nice little cluster of berries in here, but I think I might come in and add another leaf in there, possibly. We'll see after we get the berries done how it's looking. And now I'm not even looking at my pattern that I drew. I'm just going to town with the berries. Let's see. I think I want some out here, so I'm going to bring a stem coming out and over this direction. Put a berry down here, maybe a couple down here. That will be on this stem as well, that I eventually draw in there. Let's see, I think I want one out here. Maybe we'll have a stem coming out here, and we'll put a few out here. Okay, I'm going to move over to the other one and give that one a chance to set for a minute so I can look at it when I'm done over here and see what I want to do with it. Now it's going to take a couple coats of this red. You know, red in just about any paint. Kind of transparent. And then I want a couple out here, so we'll have a stem going up to those. That one was a ginormous berry. Oh my gosh. So big. So big. And one out here. This is a good way too, that if you don't like a particular place on a leaf, you can just put a berry right over it and cover it up. And I think I'll put one up here and here. Okay, now I'm going to come back to this one because I had this place here where I really messed up that line, so I'm going to put some extra berries in there. And I think I want to put an extra berry right here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I like those berries. They look good. I'm going to let them set because they will require a second coat. We'll probably do a little highlight on them, but probably not much more than that. They don't really need a whole lot of detail, but I do want to give them a stem. So I'm going to go into I used a really dark green there, but I'm going to use my avocado. That's what I use there, maybe avocado, and mix a tiny little bit of black in with it. And it will create some thin little stems coming up to these red ones. Be careful not to get in your red paint, because then you will start painting everything red. And anywhere where you think you can see that one needs a stem, let's just add one in there. You don't have to be too particular about this, but you don't want them hanging out there in nowhere land. That one I picked up a little bit of red, so just settle them in somewhere. Okay, I think I got most of them. I don't think any of them are hanging out where they don't need to be. Most of them are over a stem already, so they can be connected there. I think that looks so good. But I think I do want to add a few more leaves. Everything has to get completely dry before I do that. I think a few more green leaves in there will be pretty. So I'm going to let those dry. I think we're going to go up and work in the other corner, so I got to move everything way over so I can bring my placemat down here. Without getting it into any paint anywhere. So over here I've got a couple of bells that I've painted with a ribbon that holds them, and then we have our bow. And it goes out over here and it comes down around over here. And I really want my bow to be super transparent. So I am going to paint in a nice generous coat of my fabric medium. And I want to make sure I cover all of the area really well. You should be able to see where you've painted. It will be like a little bit of a milky color. You can tell it's wet. Any place that doesn't have paint, you can tell, or it doesn't have this medium. I'm just going to work on the bow up here first, and then I'll go out and work on the ribbon, because I'll probably have to work on the ribbon a section at a time so that it doesn't dry out too fast. Okay, I'm not really sure if I want Santa Red or the red pepper. I think I'm going to go with Santa Red. See, I got paint on my hand. I want to make sure I do not touch my fabric. Always check your hands when you put paint on your palette, especially the hand that you're going to be moving your fabric with. It's best not to mix over your palette or over your fabric as well, but I kind of don't have an option here. So this is my medium here, and this is my paint. So I'm going to add just a tiny little bit. Oh, that looks kind of pink. I don't want pink. I don't want pink for my bow, so I'm going to go back to the, not Santa Red, I want the red pepper, which is this color here. And get some more flow medium. And I might get a slightly bigger brush here. I'm going to take a little bit of my paint and mix it into my flow medium, just a tiny little bit at a time. I want this to be a transparent color. We'll see how I like it. If I don't like it, I can come back in and add more. I can add more color. But I'm thinking for now, I want it to be a transparent ribbon. I might change my mind because I've got the bright color. I've got the bright color over on this side, and I may want to carry the bright color. Now that I think about it, I think that's exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this transparent color in here because I've mixed it. It's on my brush. Might as well use it up. It's got that medium in there, so that medium is going to give me plenty of time to add more color. Alright, let me go directly into the paint, and we'll just darken this up. I think down here with my holly, well, I was thinking I'd come back and add some more orange berries to it, but not make them all red. But I still think I need to add a few more leaves in there. Alright, I've got all that fabric medium on there, so I've got plenty of time to work. Come all the way out to my edges. I do paint ribbon a lot, especially at Christmas time, and I enjoy doing that. So this one I might do a little bit different. I'm going to have to turn this so I can get that edge. I got you completely off camera. This is a big placemat. Okay. There's my ribbon, the beginning of it. Paint it in with that red. So I'm going to let that dry before I start working my way down. I think right now I want to paint my bells in. My bells are going to be base coated in the same color that we base coated in our pears with. First I'm going to add some medium into my bells. I've got 2 bells here. So we'll just apply that medium. Don't put it on too heavy. This bell, we'll see a little bit of it coming up on the back side of this ribbon here, so I'm going to paint up and around. And then just fill the whole bell in. And we're going to paint them in with the, what color did I use? Cad yellow? Yes, cad yellow. Cad Yellow Hue is the color. Go right up to your lines. I do want to try and paint over my lines because they're in the fabric now, and I did draw this by hand though, so I just used a pencil, so it would probably wash out pretty easily. But I want to make sure I get all the way up to them and cover them up. Okay, again, I want to work wet into wet, so I'm going to go grab some antique gold on my brush, and I want to shade these first. I don't want to lose my shape here. Shade where one comes over. Now I want to create the banding that goes over my goes around the bells. If you need to add your pattern on, you'll have to let your paint dry. Transfer your lines back on. Do that on the other one as well. I've got this banding a little low. Grab my liner brush here. I want to put my hook on the top. I'm going to take my base color and some antique gold and mix it together. And I'm going to put my little hook thing up here. And right here, this wire thing should go through. When I paint it on, I'll make it go through both of those loops. And this is not the color that it will stay, but I'm going to go ahead and give the indication of those little holes in the bell. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight on here. Some white and our base color. Got some more shading to do, but while that's drying down there, I'll just go ahead and add in my... I'm going to put some highlight through our banding here, so I'm just going to stroke some through there. Really lost it over here a little bit. And put a little bit down here, just tap some in. Okay, I'm going to shade with that antique gold again. And I'm going to go around right here. Oop, got outside my lines here. I should probably turn my fabric. That would make it so much easier. Turn it so I can pull towards me, and then I don't have to worry about it I don't have to worry about going outside the lines if I can pull towards me. Get a little bit of flow medium, not flow medium, fabric medium. That paint move a little bit, plus it will, I want this darker through here. right side up again. And I'm going to go to my detail brush here and grab some white. Ooh, a lot of white. Put some white through here, up here on our hooks for a little bit of a highlight. A little bit up here. Down through here. Let's add our little holes in here. So we're going to do that with some black. And a detail liner. These are not real fat, so don't get carried away. Just set your brush down and then bring it back up. Nice little okay. So I put my my little lines on there earlier. That really helps with the placement. Remove that right there. Just a little bit of water. I want this to go around the bell a little bit more. Take my antique gold, maybe a tiny little bit of black in there. And put a little bit of this color right here. Just back to my light color. Use a little bit of that mix, that antique gold with a tiny little bit of black. I'm going to go along my, a little bit more antique gold in there. It's a little bit dark. That back with my finger while it's wet, because that was a little bit darker than what I wanted. I'll go up here and put a little bit of antique gold. Where I put that darker color, take that darker color down just a tiny bit, and then I'm going to come back with my white and re-highlight. This is my bright white. Scrub it on there, tap it with your finger. Okay, those bells look pretty cute. Let's make the wire for our bells. And I'm trying to decide what kind of wire I want it to be, whether I want it to be a braided cording or, you know, just a plain wire, a piece of thread. I really am not sure what color I want it to be, but I think I might bring some of the green over here. So I might make it a green braided cording that holds it. I think that would be really fun. So let me find my round brush. And I'm going to get my, let's see, have we used this green? I don't think we've used this green. It's a dark green. I think I'm going to make a dark green and paint it in with a dark green. So I need to add a little bit of my medium to it. A little bit of black. So you can use the bright avocado, or I have Christmas green out here. I don't think I used it anywhere else, but I don't think it's going to be super noticeable that it's a completely different green. So I'm going to paint this in. Come there, and I want to connect these two. Get my damp brush because I want to clean it off of my hook if I get it on my hook. And it's a pretty fat little, it seems fat, little piece of cording stuff, but I'm going to try and make it look braided. Okay, I'll probably have to let that dry so I can come back and do the braiding part on it when it's dry. I have to paint that hook right there back in because I think I got it a little bit. I'm going to put another coat on my bow up here. It's not completely dry yet. So because I mixed that first layer with some of the fabric medium, it might take a little bit longer to dry. And I'm surprised I'm painting red and green because all of my Christmas decorations are teal and light blue and white and silver. I do not have anything red or green in my Christmas decorations. I used to, but I haven't for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. I haven't used traditional reds and greens in my Christmas. Okay, I'm going to let that get dry before we move on. All of these base coats here need to be dry before we can do anything there. And so I think I'm just going to go off camera and add a few more holly leaves. I'll come back and show you what it looks like and see what you think, but I think we need a few more leaves in there. Okay. I put a few more leaves in here. I shaded on them, but I didn't highlight them. I wanted to make them a little bit different. I'm not sure you can even tell which ones they are, but I did just put a few in there. I think that makes it look a little bit more full. I got red paint on the edge of my fabric right here. Now this is like a linen muslin type fabric. So I took a baby wipe when I saw it. I don't know how long it had been there. I took a baby wipe and rubbed it off right here, and I didn't think it would come off because red is notorious for staining. Red of anything. So the baby wipe seemed to clean it up. And that's the bad thing about working with red paint on fabric. You got to be super careful. So I need to let this dry now. I'm going to do a little bit of shading to separate all this stuff a little bit more. Maybe a little shadow underneath here. And then this corner will be done. But for now, we're going to go back up here to our bells and stuff. Try and move my paint over a little bit more. Not really sure where that red paint came from. If it was on me or on something else. So I want to work on this right here and try and make it like a corded rope type stuff. So I painted that with a really dark green. So I'm going to take my lighter green, which is bright avocado, and I'm going to try to start making some little lines on this. I don't know how well you can see that. To make it look like braiding, I'm going to start with this color green. I'm using a small round, but you can certainly use a detail liner for this. You know, a round, if you give it too much pressure at all, it's going to make these lines way too thick. We still want to see that dark green in between, so leave a space and draw some little, or paint some little lines in here. All the way around. Okay. I'm going to wipe my brush off and go into that super bright green. I'm going to add a little white to it. And I'm going to go on top of that line that I just did with this mix. Start out with bright avocado. I'm just trying to keep this a little bit in the center, maybe not so much doing the whole stroke that I did, just a little bit in the center. This side of my cord over here is not near as fat as that side. So we're getting it to look a little bit like some cording. And I'm going to wipe my brush off and now just do a little tiny bit of white. Along there. Pretty much looks like cording. I'm going to get my detail liner and take some of that black and a little bit of green. I'm going to try and outline my... This is very delicate work here. You don't have to do this at all if you don't want to, if you're worried about messing it up or making it too fat. Ooh, made that really fat right there, really dark line. Fabric is a little poofed right there. Normally you want your fabric on cardboard to and pulled taut, so you don't have any loose fabric. But this placemat is so thick that I didn't need to do that. It's so thick, it's got a nice foundation to it. Oh goodness gracious, I can't paint over here on this side for nothing. And I hope you're on camera shot because I have no idea. Okay, so now I needed to paint my my topper thing back in. That light yellow. Need to go over the green. So we want this to look like it goes like that cording is going through there and catching it. I'll put a little bit of white on there. And a little bit of the antique gold down here at this edge. A little bit of a shadow. Okay, I think those look pretty good. Those bells and that cording looks really good. I want to shade up here next to the cording, next to the ribbon, and I'm just going to use a little bit, tiny bit of black with that. I think I need to put some new black out. I'm digging a hole in it, trying to get some. pretty dark. Take a little bit of that down. Okay. So it should kind of look like it's looping through the knot there. Okay, so we got that bow done. So now I need to go along and do all of the ribbon along here. And since it's going to just be repetitive, the same thing that I did here, I'm going to go off camera and paint it all in. It will take a couple of coats of paint. I'll have to let it dry. And then while it's drying, we will do a little bit of shading over here on our pears and finish those up. And then we'll be able to finish our bow up. Okay, I've got my first coat of red on my outer ribbon out here, and I'm letting it dry so that I can apply a second coat on here. But while it's drying, I think we'll go over here and work on this area and do a little bit of shading on it. So I'm going to load my brush with my fabric medium right here. And then I want a little bit of darker green. So let me put some black out here. I've pretty much used all my black up. Make sure you don't have paint on your hand when you get ready to. I'm going to take some of that light green and a tiny little bit of black. And I'm making this kind of transparent dark green here because I have that fabric medium in there. It's going to help it stay transparent. And I'm using just a small ooh, that's really dark. Let me add a little bit more of that bright green in there and a little bit more flow medium. I just want this to be subtle along here. And I might bring some of it out and about and around my stuff over here. This is very sheer, so it's going to help settle all that in there. Make sure all of your layers of paint are dry before you do this. If your red is not dry, then you're just going to smear your red everywhere. So we're just doing a little bit of shading, basically. And then we're going to take this and blend it out and around. And it's going to help take down that that bright color that's behind all this stuff. Let me mix a tiny bit more here. That's too much. Mixing a tiny bit more of this green with my fabric medium, which is keeping it transparent. DecoArt also makes a transparent medium, which you can also use. A little bit more. Some of these areas. Okay, now I want it to be just the tiniest bit darker next to the pear itself. I mean, just the tiniest bit. That means just a little bit more paint and not as much of the medium. A little bit more. Make it a little smoother. Here and do a little bit over here. That side I'd already pretty much done good, but I still need a little bit. Ooh, or a lot. Dang. Dang. Not quite that much. Get some of the medium and blend that out. I don't want to cover up my leaf there. take that transparent mix and blend it out. I'm going to put some of the paint back on this one here. I want it to be on top as well as this one. So any of them that I feel like kind of got pushed a little bit too far back, just pop those out. Highlight here. A little bit of the antique gold. Just want to touch up here. Don't want to lose my shape of my pear. And then I want to darken right here. I'm going to use the antique gold. I don't know, it's probably not going to be dark enough. Tiniest amount of black. Make this just a little bit darker right down here. But you have to be careful with the black. With that yellow, it'll turn green. So you really have to use a super small amount of yellow. And then I might try to brighten that up. I mean, not brighten it, but make it look more yellow by just doing a little bit of the bright yellow on top of it. And it should still keep that shadowy color in there, but it will look more yellow now. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I want to put a little bit of a shadow underneath my pears. This is where it can be kind of tricky. So I'm going to get some fresh fabric medium out. And I'm going to load an angle brush with the fabric medium. And a teeny tiny little bit of black on one corner. I'm using an angle brush. And we'll just put a little bit of a shadow in here. Doesn't have to be much of one. I've just tiniest little bit of black is in my brush. It's completely full of the fabric medium, and then the fabric medium is on the heel of the brush, so I am using it to blend that shadow out. Just blend it just a little bit. And I think I'm going to go up next to the pear here. Any place you want it to be just a tiny bit darker, you can do that. Tiniest amounts of black here. I can't stress how small of an amount of black I've got. I mean, you pretty much are going to think you don't have any black on your brush. So just a little bit of a shadow underneath all that. And there you go. That's pretty good. That was using that fabric medium. Beautiful stuff. Okay, I feel like I need a little bit more antique gold down here. Clean up this edge just a little bit. And those pears look Delicious. Delicious. Alright, I'm going to go get my second coat on my ribbon up here and get it dry. We're going to finish out our ribbon and then see if we want to do anything else to this design. I've got an idea of something I want to do, but I'm not sure it's going to work. So I'm going to get my second coat on my ribbon and be right back. Okay, we've got our pears and our bells are done. So now we want to work on the ribbon. And so we want to start defining our curves and things. So I'm going to load my brush with my medium. And then I'm going to mix a red with some black. Now I put out some Santa red. I haven't used this in my design anywhere. But I think it might, with a little black, make a nice shading color. Make like a cranberry wine type color. So we're going to do that. We're just going to mix a tiny little bit of black in there. And then let's see how this is going to look. This piece of ribbon goes behind that, so we need a little bit of shading there. And you want to have that medium in your brush so that you can put that paint on and move it around a little bit. Let's see. I can zoom in to where I can get my ribbon on camera. Okay, I'll try and paint on it upside down here. Okay, we got some folds along this ribbon here. Well, first let's just go up here and shade around our knot with this mix. Okay, I'll go ahead and do on the other side. Anytime your brush starts feeling dry, grab some medium and blend that into your paint. Don't put too much black into your paint, your red paint, because it'll get way too dark. We can come back and darken this later, but for now we want to keep it where it's a little on the subtle side. Okay, so we have some twists and bends and things in our ribbon. So this one way down here, I'm going to put this shading right here. So it looks like that's the under part, and then we'll bring our highlight on top of it. And then this one we'll do the side. Just a little bit of a shading there. And then we've got a turned edge here. And make sure you have that medium in your brush. You can add a little bit of water if the medium isn't working for you, but try to use the medium. Okay, I really need this to be facing me without getting into paint and water and everything else. So this is the hard part about painting something big, and you got to zoom in. Okay, because I want some shading along this edge of the ribbon out here. It's very subtle along that edge. I can come back in and darken that. Let me grab some more medium in my brush because my brush is really feeling dry. Okay, so now we can really see that twist coming. And I'm going to do the same down here. Put a little bit on this back edge back here. And then that will be highlight coming across there, and then I'll just pull this shading down along the bottom here a little bit. And we'll make this side the shaded side. No, really, that should have been the highlight side, but let me take that off of there because that should be the highlight side. So a little bit of water. And then I'll just take my paper towel and blot on that red. Make sure you don't get into your background because you won't be able to get it out. So let me move that. Put it along this edge. Ideally, I would turn my piece so that I could get to this at a better angle, but to keep it on camera shot, I'm not doing that. And then a little bit of shading along this edge. And we'll come back and darken all of that. That's how we're going to start. Let's go up here and do this one. Same mix, that Santa red with a little bit of black. Make this cranberry color, a little bit of medium in your brush. Okay. I'm going to keep you on camera here. So this is going to be darker in here. That medium in my brush is letting me pull that paint. Okay, and this should be a twist. A twist here. I didn't paint it quite in like a twist. So I'm going to put the shading down here. And we'll come and highlight along that edge there. Okay, let's go up to our bow here. And I want to create a wrinkle in it. And I want it to be a little bit fat down here and then come out. Put a second one over here. Do the same over here on this side. I'm going to do 3 on this side. Just mixing a little bit more when I'm away from the shot here. So I'm going to shade on the outside edges on our loops. This is a little bit different bow than what I normally paint. It's a little bit flatter of a bow. I don't have the loop openings like I normally do. Ooh, too much black there. Grab some of that Santa red. Pity pat it along there. I'm going to wash out my brush and grab a little bit of our base coat red. I want to blend it here a little bit. just pity pat and let that blend into that. Okay, wide angle back out again so we can start looking at our ribbon. Now I need to make some shadow edge on this one. So our highlight's going to be coming down this edge, so we'll make a little bit of a shadow back here. Bit more of that red in there. I'm just going to go right along this edge all the way to the end. I might sweep this out or walk it out just a little bit. Make that ribbon look a little bit wider there. So there we're starting to get some good shading on there. And we'll start adding our highlights on. We'll probably need to deepen our shading in a few places. I forgot to shade on the knot, so let me do that real quick. Okay, I'm going to shade on 2 outside edges. Dark, so let me darken that just slightly so you can maybe see it a little bit better. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so highlights, I think we'll add a few little highlights on here. So I don't want to use pink because I don't want my bow to turn pink. Normally I use an orange. Some of my oranges are not super bright. I could create an orange. Let me see if I can create an orange by adding some of my red to it. If not, I've got this bittersweet orange that I can lighten up with some yellow. So I'm going to mix here. First I'm going to try and make a light orange with some yellow. And I don't like that, that's too pink. Let me get a different color of yellow. Okay, that was Cadmium Yellow Hue, and this one is Bright Yellow. Bright Yellow is a little bit more transparent. The Cadmium Yellow Hue has some white in it, so it was making my red look pink. And that's an okay orange. Let me try the other red and see if it makes a different color of orange. Yeah, it makes it a little bit brighter orange. So I'm going to go with the Santa Red and some bright yellow and make an orange color. Okay, I'm just going to mix as I go here. And we'll see how this looks. Needs to be brighter, so let's add some more yellow in there. Quite a bit more yellow. It's not showing up super great for you. It's definitely a lot of yellow and not very much of the red. And we'll definitely have to do this more than once. Because already it's faded down in there so much I can't see it. I think I might go into my bittersweet orange and add some yellow into that and see how that looks. Ooh. Okay. I'll grab a brush with some clean water real quick. See if I can clean that up where I got out of line. Be quick. Quick, quick, quick. Okay, there's right here. It would be much easier and I wouldn't have those accidents if I could turn my fabric to where I was pulling it instead of pushing it like this. I want you to turn your fabric. Pulling towards you is so much easier than doing it the other way. So I might have to go into a pink color because the orange is just not really showing up like I would like it to. I'm just afraid pink is going to be way too bright. Okay, let me see how this looks. Can't really see that color at all. That's a pink, not very pink. Okay. I really prefer the orange, so I'm just going to go with my burnt orange and add some Cad Yellow Hue to it. That will definitely lighten it up. It's bittersweet orange, not burnt orange. Sorry about that. On the top edge of our bow and along the bottom edge. Well, we'll be coming in and brightening this, so this is bittersweet orange and a little bit of Cad Yellow Hue. It's not showing up the best yet. And we'll do all of our high places, which would be the opposite sides that we shaded on. Some fabric medium here. I'll definitely come back and highlight more, because that highlight is really soaking down in there. So I really need to get these layers dry before I do anything else. They're all, the shading and the highlight are still pretty wet, so let's get them dry. Okay, we're pretty dry, I think. I'm going to darken my shading just slightly. I'm going to use that same mix, that black and Santa red. Load my brush with some medium. And we'll just create a little bit of darker areas in some of these shadowy places where we might have our deepest, darkest little shadows. So all these little V areas, we'll do those. Go up here to my outer edge here. It needs to be just a little bit darker. Make that look a little bit more curved. To turn it now because I need to don't let my fabric come over on my wet paint. That would not have made me happy. Okay. Try to keep my hand out of the wet paint. This is a little bit of a darker area here. This little V place here. I'll bring a little bit of this down this way. Okay, I think that does the shading pretty good. Alright, let's go back with our highlight. And let's see what I want to use, because I did not like that yellow or that orange that I had. Yellow. Has to be an orange. Needs to be brighter though. So I mixed some yellow, some burnt bittersweet orange, and bright yellow. Last time we did the Cadmium Yellow Hue, I think. Yeah. So this time I'm using the bright yellow and the orange. We're just going back over all the places we went before. I didn't go over this one down here, so let me do it. Here. On the end. We'll come back with a white highlight when we're done here. Okay, so just continue on around. I'm going to go off camera and finish this other side because it's just the same as what I did over here. Okay, my paint is not quite dry, but I'm going ahead with my little white highlight here, just skimming it across on the high points of our highlighted edges. This is just straight white, a little bit of medium in my brush. A little bit more medium so I can move that, make it a little bit more transparent. Beside our little wrinkle things. Too much medium now, so take some of that out so I can get a more opaque white here. Make sure when you're moving your fabric you don't have any paint on your fingertips, on your hands, anywhere, because you don't want to be transferring paint somewhere you don't want it. just take a look at it here. Let me wide angle out and see where I might need to add a little bit more highlight. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Pretty good for our highlight. Definitely a different kind of bow for me. If you're someone who's painted with me for quite a while, I generally always do my open loops here, but I wanted to try a different bow. I think this bow is really cute for this placemat. And I think that's going to finish up my bow for me. Now, if you kind of lost your red in there, you can come back with your base color of red, which was red pepper. You can create a slight little wash and put it on there. But now I'm thinking I want to put a border around this and finish it off. So I'm going to grab a stencil that I'm going to use. Okay, I've decided I'm going to put a border around the outside. I'm going to use a dark green mix. So I took my Christmas green and my black, and I just mixed a really dark green. And you can see it right here. It's pretty dark. I'm going to use a stencil brush. I'm going to load a little bit of paint on my stencil brush. I don't want this to be very dark at all. And then I'm going to offload, get a dry paper towel. Offload it onto a dry paper towel. I don't want very much paint in my brush. I want this to be subtle in the background. I mean, a subtle border. And this is my buffalo check border stencil, so I've taped off where I just have one row that's going to go all the way around this thing. A little bit more. I always load and then offload. Very soft. Circular motion. If you do not want to do this, then you do not have to do this. I might want it to be a little bit darker than that. Just a little bit darker. And I've taped off my other squares so that I won't accidentally get paint somewhere. I've taped off the edges, and so I should be able to line up for the next row very easily. Let's see how that looks. Oh, I like that a lot. That looks very Christmassy. So now I'm just going to line this square up with this one. And tape down. And I'm going to continue all the way around my surface. I'm going to try not to paint into the one that I lined it up with so that I don't get it darker than everything else. A little bit more paint on this one. Get my tape unfolded here. I want it to stay stuck down good. Okay, that probably will be enough. Oh, that looks so good. So I'm going to complete the whole entire surface all the way around with just one row of buffalo check stencil. This is on my website. This is a 1/2 inch buffalo check. So if you have a buffalo check stencil already, that's a 1/2 inch square. That's what size I'm using. Alright, so there it is with the border on it, and definitely looks like a Christmas placemat. So you have Christmas on one side and just throughout the year on the other side. How fun is that? I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for painting with me. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up, like and share, and comment on my videos. I appreciate every one of you. I will see you guys on the next one, everybody. Bye-bye.